Welcome to our introductory course on Eternalism, the divine philosophy of the eternal worlds. Unit 4, the 5 E's of Eternalism. In Unit 4, we'll explore the 5 E's of Eternalism by examining 5 core questions fundamental to our reality-based philosophy, each shaping a major branch of philosophical thought. A course outline will emerge showing how these 5 E's of Eternalism, implicit within LDS theology, embody these core questions and major branches, guiding us as we move forward and dive deeper into the divine philosophy of the eternal worlds. In introducing the 5 E's of Eternalism, it's helpful to start with the question, why is it called Eternalism? To address this question fully, we need to consider both its doctrinal context and its historical origins. For its doctrinal context, we turn to the words of John Taylor. We believe in eternal principles in an eternal gospel, an eternal priesthood in eternal communications and associations. Everything associated with the gospel that we believe in is eternal. Thus, the doctrinal basis for the term eternalism. As for its historical origins, we can look back to the historian and intellectual B.H. Roberts, who first coined the term eternalism. Roberts developed the concept of eternalism in the 1920s, with the term's first published appearance around 1930 in A Comprehensive History of the Church. In this church history, he wrote, "Eternalism is the term I would select as the best descriptive word for the new dispensation philosophy. For that term best represents its concepts. An eternal universe with no beginning and no end. Eternal intelligence working in eternal duration without beginning or ending. All accompanied by eternal relations, associations, unions, eternal youth and eternal glory." Thus, the historical origins of the term eternalism. With this background, we can now return to the earlier words of Elder John A. Whitsoe. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints deals with eternal realities. Elsewhere, he writes, "The gospel is founded on tangible and eternal things and relationships. And the Church embraces all truth, welcomes it, seeks it, and places it rationally in the scheme of divine philosophy. Therefore, we may rightly conclude that the gospel may be said to be the philosophy of eternalism, and Mormonism may be called the philosophy of eternalism." Another way to view this relationship between the everlasting gospel and the philosophy of eternalism is to see eternalism as a framework that brings the implicit reality-based nature of the gospel to light. Imagine all these eternal elements as scattered puzzle pieces. The philosophy of eternalism gathers and arranges them into a systematic, coherent, and complete picture, once again affirming the gospel truth that the philosophy of eternalism is sticking with the gospel by making the implicit explicit. We can now turn to an overview of this course of study, which will unfold column by column in this 3-column chart, starting with the first column and the 5 core questions we all face as we go through life. Here are the 5 core questions in rapid succession. What is real? What is true? What is good? What is just? What is beautiful? Answers to these 5 core questions shape individual and cultural worldviews. Together, these beliefs lead individuals and societies toward one of 2 outcomes: peace and happiness, or conflict and war. The degree to which individuals and a society get these 5 core issues right determines the degree to which they will experience peace, resulting in a life of joy and happiness. Conversely, the degree to which an individual or a society gets these 5 core issues wrong determines the degree to which they will experience conflict and war, resulting in death, sorrow, and misery. And yet the profound importance, complexity, and consequential nature of these issues have given rise over the centuries to philosophical controversies, debates, and inquiries, ultimately leading to the 5 major branches of philosophy, each corresponding to one of these 5 core questions. Let's list each of these 5 major branches one at a time. For the question, what is real? We have metaphysics. For the question, what is true? We have epistemology. For the question, what is good? We have value ethics. For the question, what is just? We have politics. And finally, for the question, what is beautiful? We have aesthetics. In the next unit, we will explore each of these 5 branches in further detail. For now, it is simply important to understand that these five major branches of philosophy did not emerge out of nowhere. They were a direct response to each of these five core questions. With these two columns completed, we are now ready to turn our attention to the 5 E's of eternalism and what they consist of. Again, let me list them one at a time in rapid succession. Eternal laws, eternal truths, eternal lives, eternal kingdoms, and the glory of the eternal worlds. With these three columns complete, you can now see the entire outline for our course on the philosophy of eternalism, beginning with 1. Metaphysics, what is real? 2. Epistemology, what is true? 3. Value ethics, what is good? 4. Politics, what is just? 5. Aesthetics, what is beautiful? The answer to each of these five core questions is ultimately found in the concept of the eternal and in the philosophy of eternalism, with its eternal perspective. To illustrate how this is so, let us now demonstrate exactly how these 5 E's of eternalism directly relate to these five core questions and thus to the five major branches of philosophy already listed. To begin with, recall that all five of these eternal realities are part of the everlasting gospel. Although they have been scattered throughout our teachings and doctrines since its inception, they remain as puzzle pieces that could one day be assembled into a systematic and coherent philosophical system worthy of our latter-day dispensation. At least that was the hope and desire of the historian B.H. Roberts, who wrote, "It is our present task to put some of these and other independent utterances of the prophet Joseph Smith into something like orderly arrangement that will suggest a system of thought or philosophy in the teachings of the prophet of the new dispensation, and which, when they are finally arranged in proper order, will constitute a system of philosophy worthy of the enlightened age in which it was brought forth. That day has come, and so, to conclude this unit, let us present this orderly and systematic philosophy in one grand and comprehensive illustration. Taken together, the 5 E's of eternalism create a systematic and unified whole, beginning with eternal laws, metaphysics, giving rise to eternal truths, epistemology, making possible eternal lives, value ethics, within the dominion of eternal kingdoms, politics, amidst the glory and beauty of the eternal worlds, aesthetics, organized in accordance with eternal laws. Philosophically speaking, this forms one glorious and complete cycle of thought, a divine philosophy of the eternal worlds that B.H. Roberts aptly called eternalism. Finally, it is important to note that eternalism applies the eternal perspective to all five core issues of philosophy. What is real? What is true? What is good? What is just? What is beautiful? By applying this eternal perspective to all five core issues of philosophy, we emulate the divine philosophy of the eternal worlds and promote a worldview that is eternal rather than temporal in nature. This ends this Unit 4 presentation. Thank you for watching. Join us for Unit 5, where we'll introduce you to the philosophical stickman. And be sure to take the Unit 4 overview quiz to deepen your understanding of the gospel and the philosophy of eternalism.